Hello everyone, and welcome to Boldly Go. Drinking, a product of the Wednesday Night Gentlemen. This is a show dedicated to talking about and reviewing the latest Star Trek episodes as they come out. Today we'll be talking about Envoys, Season 1, Episode 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks. As a warning, this show is full of spoilers, so consider yourself warned. I'm your host, Tactic Angel. With me is Midget Radio, my murderous socialist friend.
Hello.
Hello, Midget Radio. How are you today?
Doing all right, Tactic Angel. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Not too bad.
Sweet.
Yeah. Today's an interesting day, but we won't go too much into that. But
all right. Seems ominous.
It is it's a little dark. Anyway, today I'm going to be talking to you while I am drinking some McAfee's Benchmark Old Number 8 brand whiskey.
Ooh.
Whiskey.
Nice.
I like this stuff, and it is surprisingly affordable. Like, almost, like, I feel like I would feel better if it cost more money.
Okay.
Because right now it costs so little money that I feel like it's like what you would drink if you had like a,
okay.
Right?
Yeah,
right?
Sure. You think it maybe says something about your palate,
right?
Versus your I see that.
I
can see that.
You know, the important thing is that I'm always drunk.
Yeah.
I drink the best product, number 8, because it's cheap.
Yeah, it's great.
What do you got, buddy?
I have a Japanese whiskey called Kaio.
Ooh.
It is okay.
Seriously, just okay?
It's really just okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Suntory and the Akashi blow it out of the water.
That's really surprising because the Japanese are just so good at making whiskey that okay feels like spitting in their face, and
it does a little bit. I mean, I feel bad about it, but you know,
a great disgrace to your family.
I mean, I don't want anybody ending up with a sword in their stomach, but
right. Yeah. But it's just not there. Take this as an opportunity for improvement.
Sure.
Of course, if they start today, they probably won't have made any visible progress for at least 8 years.
Well, still, that's another 8 years to hang on before you.
2030. 2030, we got big things going on. Japanese whiskey market. All right.
Hell yeah.
So, as the title implies, we're drinking, but we're talking about Star Trek, so I will go ahead. I've broken this down into 2 parts. Let's see how we like it, all right?
All right.
First, our cold open this week. It is a brief interlude in a hallway on the Cerritos. An all-powerful being enters the ship, but Mariner grabs it and tries to stick it in a jar. In exchange for its freedom, she has it make a new tricorder for her with a purple stripe, plus batteries. After which, the creature isn't quite as strong and doesn't really threaten the ship, I guess. Or does it? I'm not really sure how to end this. But that is our cold open. Do you have any thoughts on the cold open here?
I mean, I don't know. I guess it was fine. They did just kind of leave that off, right? The little thing infects the captain.
Did it infect the captain, or did it go into the captain and it just didn't have enough juice left that it was just like a bug on the windshield?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Felt like that was left hanging a little bit.
Right? Maybe this is the season-long plot. Maybe this is where everything starts to go wrong. I hope that's not the case. And how dare you bring it up? I didn't really have anything too profound to say about it. I thought it was serviceably amusing.
Yeah, that's fine. It's right. Isn't it a TOS episode? Is it a TOS episode where like some little fucking point of light invades the ship?
I mean, how many points of light?
I know.
Sometimes it invades the ship. Sometimes it talks directly to you. Sometimes it just knocks up your counselor. There's all sorts. No,
I'm talking about this specific point of light. This specific point.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
So the main plot That's the next part. See, I've broken it into
Oh,
two.
the plot part. Okay.
The main plot has an A plot and a B plot, which basically have nothing to do with one another, but are related thematically. On the ship, Rutherford remembers that he was supposed to watch Supernova or something like that with Tendi.
Yeah.
But he won't be able to do that because of his work schedule. So he goes on a tour of possible postings throughout the ship in an attempt to change his entire career so that he can keep a promise to a friend. Meanwhile, Boimler is supposed to escort a Klingon to the planet when Mariner gets herself assigned to the mission too. Mariner knows the Klingon ambassador, Corinne. I don't know. I wrote it fucking down, and it's K''Orin.
Sound like Corinne, the way they were saying it.
Okay, it just seems weird because that's like T's sister. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But she hits it off with her old friend, with whom she goes a long way back, and nearly does everything better once they get to the actual planet than Boimler, causing the young ensign a lot of serious self-doubt. Midget Radio, what did you think of this episode?
It was all right. I liked the Rutherford storyline a lot better than the other one.
I am going to tell you you're wrong.
Oh, okay.
This episode was actually great.
This is awesome. Let's have a fucking fight about Star Trek Lower Decks.
And how this episode is the most positive Starfleet-like thing that I've seen out of CBS in the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with you there. That's for sure.
I don't know if you can tell me if you think that I'm just off my rocker. I think overall this is probably like a B, maybe a B plus at best.
Okay.
But like I really felt good watching this episode.
Okay.
And it was weird because there was a part of it that I started to get annoyed by it. Like I was like really like pissed off at the episode for like, I don't know, like 2 minutes.
Okay.
But then it like brought me back.
All right. Well, sounds like you had a fucking journey there.
I did have
watching
a journey.
This episode. Yeah.
Inside of 30 minutes.
I want to hear it.
All right. So I'm going to start with the B plot because the B plot's a lot more interesting as far as I'm concerned. So I just labeled them in the order that I wrote them. So B plot in this case, I'm talking Boimler and Mariner down on the planet.
Okay.
And they got like all sorts of stuff going on, and no matter what happens, Mariner has her head about her, right?
Sure.
And it's at this point that I'm starting to get annoyed with her because she is a little too perfect. And
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
I'm starting to get annoyed by the perfection. But then you have the whole, Ferengi thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Ferengi thing, even if you take it without the last scene in the actual episode, was, you could take it as at face value as just like Boimler figures out the situation and can do something about it, so his faith is rewarded. But it's even better when you see that, unlike the sort of strong female protagonist nonsense that we've been seeing for years now.
Yeah, to clarify, Tactic Angel means that strong female protagonists are absurd.
No, what I mean is the flawless character who is universally liked and has basically no character because they have no flaws.
Yeah.
In this case, she willingly basically fell on her sword. She set up a situation where Boimler could do well because she just knew that's what he needed.
Yeah.
And at the end, you have Boimler, and he's kind of being a prick about the whole thing, but, it's kind of fun. Because at that point, we as the audience probably are like, yeah, Mariner's a little bit too perfect. But then she goes back to her room and she calls up the Ferengi, and you realize it was all a ploy.
Right.
And she's doing that because she's trying to help a friend.
Yeah.
And it was just like, holy shit, that is totally it's not the perfect Star Trek thing to do, but it is very much like to put yourself out for somebody else is a strangely positive message to see in a Star Trek episode nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you on that, but doesn't the fact that she does that, doesn't that just even further reinforce how fucking perfect and apparently flawless she is?
So
I mean, I really hated that reveal. Because Mariner is annoying for all the reasons that you just stated. And I think now that it was all like a big ploy, it's almost condescending in a way. And I think it just, yeah, it's just look at her. She never is wrong. That is correct. She's never wrong. And she knows what's best, like, you know, for everybody, for the crew, for her friend, and all that. Like, it's just, I still found it kind of like, yeah, she's too perfect. It's Mariner. She's smart and effortlessly good at everything.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, I can look at that, but that just makes you an insufferable prick for thinking that way.
How do you have the more positive interpretation of this? You are the cynical dick on this show.
Not true.
You listened to our entire Picard experience, and I was just clinging to positivity throughout that entire season.
Yeah, you were literally the person who the Titanic has hit the iceberg, and no matter how deep it got, you were like, it's gonna be fine, guys.
Yeah, we can figure it out. There's a way around this. And then at the end, it's like, no, everybody sinks and y'all
As
die.
it turns out, we were right. That iceberg was a problem. Like one of the elements of a Mary Sue is the universally liked by everybody around them, for no reason, really.
Yeah.
So in this case, you have a situation where Boimler isn't necessarily treating her well, because he's making a lot of fun of her, essentially because she did something nice for him.
Right.
And she has the good grace not to do anything about it. But in that scene, you have characters who have a relationship that is more natural than the typical Mary Sue relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you're completely off base and that it's unreasonable to say, okay, yeah, in the end, she actually did know everything.
Yeah.
But it flips it on its head when she essentially takes a demerit in the eyes of everyone.
Yeah.
Because she does shirk that portion of the stereotype. Maybe not the whole thing, but
yeah, I don't know. I guess so. I still feel like she falls squarely within the stereotype, and even more so because now it's the audience gets to know. We get to know how perfect she is. Maybe not everybody else knows, but we fucking clearly do now. And yeah, I don't know. It's still like.
So let me take it from another angle then. So part of the problem with the Mary Sue is that we're also, as the audience, expected to like her.
Yeah. For
essentially just being an embodiment of the author's personal vision of themselves, right?
Yeah.
And okay, if you take Mariner as an example of that, it probably also doesn't exactly match up, because again, you've got a situation where she's taking on negative qualities. And where am I going with this?
I don't know. I think you like the self-sacrificial stuff, an individual's willingness to sacrifice their own hubris for some greater good. But I feel like that still reinforces the holier-than-thou kind of Messiah-like presence that these characters end up with.
I figured out what it was. It was essentially,
okay,
all right, let's say, Midget Radio, you and I are friends.
Okay, let's say that.
If there was a scenario where I knew something that would, like, destroy your life,
mm-hmm.
or change it significantly in a terrible, terrible way.
Yeah.
And maybe, like, by not pointing that out to you, I could spare you that.
Okay.
Or, something to that end. In this case, if I knew you were going to make a fool out of yourself, and that it would be, like, super bad for you for whatever reason, personal, professional, and I decided to make a fool of myself so that you didn't have the opportunity to make a fool of yourself,
mm-hmm.
that is a thing as an audience member I can look at and I can say, that is a positive quality that I appreciate.
Yeah.
I would want my friends to have that.
Yeah.
And I would expect that a Starfleet member, a Starfleet crewman, would have those sorts of idealistic sort of motivations.
Okay.
And I can respect that, particularly in a Star Trek setting. So I think that also is a little bit, I think that's a little bit different because, like, unlike if we go to Michael Burnham, who we're all supposed to like, she is a fuck up.
Yeah. No, clearly. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that's paradoxical about her as a character, is that she is genuinely a fuck up, and we're supposed to look at those fuck ups as successes.
Yeah, but yeah, right. They keep telling us, like, she's doing such a fucking good job, and you're like, she is the worst.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, one of the most redeeming qualities of the show is when the authors have those moments and they're so stuck up their own asses that they can't tell that they've fucked it up.
Yeah.
That it just becomes hilarious.
Yeah.
That isn't what you're seeing here.
No, that's true.
This is a thing that with Mariner, if it was a situation between two normal people, you and me, well, we're extraordinary, but two ordinary people or extraordinary people, we would say, yeah, that's exactly what we would want to have happen. And in Starfleet, that's what we should expect to have happen, with slightly more flawed characters than we're traditionally used to seeing.
Right.
Outside of the dark, just find a good reason to kill yourself, CBS all asses.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna say this then. I can see where you're coming from. If we kind of say that, like, the sort of the traditional characteristics of a kind of Mary Sue character, which is somebody who's basically just, the way I see it, a kind of effortlessly good at fucking everything.
Yep.
And loved and all of that stuff. That those character traits generally feel, I think, sort of shallow. They are usually kind of gimmicky, I think. There's just not a lot of substance there.
True.
And what you're pointing out is the fact that she's willing to kind of look like an asshole for the benefit of a friend of hers is, in fact, a genuinely positive character trait that you would want to see, in an actual human being, let alone a Starfleet officer.
Yeah.
I'll give that to you, that I still think she's a Mary Sue, and I mean, I still think she leans hard in that direction. But I'll give it to you that maybe this episode brings out at least one genuine character trait of hers, which is certainly more than we can say for Discovery. Jesus, that's for sure.
I mean, how many, like, seriously, if this was a scene between Boimler and Michael Burnham, she would have started crying.
Yeah.
And
yes,
they would have started talking about their goddamn feelings.
Yep.
And how he needed to stay in Starfleet because otherwise she was going to, like, throw herself out an airlock.
Yeah, because she's the more tragic figure. Yeah. In every situation.
Yeah, right? Like, how in the world... But, okay. One of the other things is that I realize in watching this episode and feeling so positively about it afterwards, because, of course, I have to have a lot of self-doubt about why I like things.
Sure.
Is how much of that is just how miserably dark Star Trek has become.
Yeah.
And then the other part is Mariner wasn't actually as much of a motor mouth in this episode as she was last episode, which was a lot more comfortable. And
okay.
I found myself laughing several more times in this episode.
God, really?
Yes.
This is so interesting. Okay.
So, like,
I laughed one time.
They do the same thing 2 times, and I laughed both times.
Okay.
Maybe this will be a bridge over to the A plot, but don't let me keep you from coming back to the B plot if you want to return to it. I'm not trying to force you out. But when we look at the A plot, Rutherford is going from he's getting like his EPR, yeah. And he's like, Rutherford, you're great. You did everything perfect. You did all this stuff. You're the cream of the crop. Oh my gosh, you got a huge, future in engineering and whatever. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to need to transfer.
Yeah.
You're telling me that you want to choose another career path?
Yeah.
That's great! It's just like... Because of course that's what a Starfleet person would be like. They're just like,
yes,
follow your heart, follow your heart. They're like the parent who unrealistically tells you that you can do everything, and you're just gonna end up being like a toll booth operator. But
yeah, no, fair enough. I loved that. I didn't laugh out loud at it, but I loved it both fucking times that it happened, and I thought that's exactly fucking Starfleet. That's exactly what I think Starfleet would. That would be the reaction. Yeah, dude, go fucking try something else out. Yeah, I love that. Change your entire career. I mean, it's absurd, and but it's been like, I mean, I always think this has been kind of just a running absurdity in the world of Star Trek, where I guess, I mean, the assumption is that we're supposed to believe that people are just fucking super geniuses, you know? But like watching him transfer from engineering to like working on some guy's heart, like, yeah, the heart's a machine and the brain is a fucking whatever, and the eyes are cameras. Like, I mean, it's just absurd that you would be able to transfer these skills so fucking easily. But like, it's something that I totally embrace about Starfleet and the Federation, that everyone is such a goddamn super genius that they can just transfer from being, I work on machines all day, to now I work on the heart. Like, it's great. I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah. But it's more the positive, supportive thing.
Yeah.
And all of that storyline, which also makes me feel good, is just in service of the fact that he said, I will watch this supernova with you.
Yeah.
And that he had forgotten, and he didn't want to be a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just the amount of effort that he would put to not do that to his friend is, you know, that's commendable. And again, it's another really, really positive thing that, God damn, we just haven't seen in so long. And that's the reason why, that's the only reason why I keep questioning why I like this episode. It's just like, is it just that Star Trek is so bad now?
I mean, no, I think that is a part of it. But no, I agree with you. I think this is why I liked this plot line better than the other one, because I feel like Rutherford and what's her face, the doctor lady, ensign, whatever she is, I like, because it's kind of like, this plot is kind of a little bit about that relationship, and we get to see a little bit of, you know, how far the lengths that Rutherford will go to sort of maintain that relationship, and whether there's something romantic there or not, it doesn't really matter. But like, at least it's two fucking Starfleet characters who have a relationship of some kind with one another, and I like that because they're basically equals. And it's the thing I have a hard time with Mariner and anybody else, and particularly Mariner and Boimler, because he's always like a subordinate to her all the time. And she's like the mastermind of the fucking relationship. Like, I'm gonna do this thing so that you stay in Starfleet, and I hate it. Like, they don't approach each other as equals really, and it's just sort of annoying, because then you start.
That was actually another part where I laughed.
Yeah,
when they first meet Corinne, and it's like, we go way back. It's like, how do you go way back? We're the same age.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah.
I mean, the blast shield thing was awful, but
yeah. Oh, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up. Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a certain element of that. Like, they've already established that she has been in Starfleet longer, that she used to have a higher rank.
Yeah.
And that she got busted down. So in a certain way, she should have at least some experience advantage over him.
Yeah.
And having been busted down, you could say, like, if we were in a situation where, like, I once worked with a person, say, who may have or may not have banged one of his employees,
sure,
and got demoted because of it. Now, since I'm not a Starfleet member, I might look down upon him for being demoted to whatever level I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think a Starfleet officer would still look at that person and say, you know, they're in Starfleet. maybe not specifically this problem, but was a lieutenant but got busted down to ensign again.
Okay.
Probably doesn't really matter because I guess nobody gets paid or everybody gets paid the same. I'm not really sure.
Who the fuck knows? Who knows? That question will never be answered.
But you would have to respect that this person has a lot of experience that maybe you don't as a brand new ensign who has recently started out on the ship.
Yeah.
So that he would have sort of a, I guess you could say, subordinate relationship. You could also say that there's a certain just experiential gap and that she might view him as her mentee.
Yeah.
Without maybe a formal relationship like that.
That's possible. I mean, that would make it more interesting, aside from all her, like, hey, the lower decks is where you're supposed to be, and the fucking, everything else is bullshit. All the higher-ups are bullshit. Like, I would buy that a little bit more, but it just seems like, because when you look at her as a character, it's hard not to kind of see her as selfish. And so when she's, manipulating him behind the scenes to stay onto Starfleet, it seems like you can look at that. If your name is Tactic Angel and you're a cynical son of a bitch, unlike Midget Radio, you can look at that and be like, this is just a selfish attempt to keep him next to her in her life because she needs him.
Well, I don't know.
And that's all it is.
She was also pretty supportive of him trying to get to the captain's chair, even though she was making fun of him for making fake captain's logs in the last episode.
That's true. I guess that was in episode 1. Yeah, that's true.
I will point out this is episode 2.
I know it is. I know. It's just I did the optimistic thing, Tactic Angel, on Picard.
You're going to take the low road this time?
And the last episode, I took a lot of elbows to the face in that last episode, so...
You did.
There's a lot of fucking bombs right in my fucking face.
You walked into a lot of them, though. It's like, I don't think this is going. I think somehow this is going.
I don't care. I still maintain that there's a lot of good stuff in Picard. There's like the beginnings of a lot of good stuff in the Picard. That the last episode's like, hey, all of this stuff. Let's put it right in the fucking dumpster, and then let's set the dumpster on fire.
I think what it was,
and then let's kill your family.
At best, you had a series of Black Market and Scar episodes that were concluded by a J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. Do you guys? Yeah.
Pick any one of them. Two episodes really of Lost at the end.
Yeah, it's true.
Where it was
Who doesn't like the Romulan Free State? Who's not on board with the Romulan Free State?
I don't know what that fucking means.
I know. I mean, but when you hear it, you're like, what the fuck is that? That's interesting. I want to know what
I'd like
that
to
is.
know
How
more
does it
about
form?
that.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad.
Who is made up of that? Like, wait, there are Romulans who are not in the Romulan Free State, maybe? I mean...
Are there?
I don't know. I would love to know. But
do they have droids or
how
not?
did they become a part of this Borg reclamation project? That's just...
I think we're getting off track.
I know.
So, I should say, okay, I talked a lot about Boimler, Mariner. I talked a lot about Rutherford.
Yeah.
And Tindy. So
Tindy.
I don't know if you want to add anything else that you liked.
No, I mean that's the most substantive part, substantive bits of the episode. I will say the part that actually did make me laugh out loud was Rutherford looking longingly at a sparkling Jeffries tube. I fucking loved that.
I was amused, but that did not get my
okay.
laughter.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love an engineer who loves his fucking job, man? I was all about, and that is what separates this show from the other two iterations of Star Trek that we've seen. Are like the people who are in Starfleet love being in Starfleet, and they fucking love their jobs. Boimler loves the fucking warp core, and now we know that Rutherford loves the goddamn Jeffries tubes. It's great.
And they're not assholes.
Yeah, they're not complete assholes. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is certainly the most, like, it's, I don't know how seriously we can really take it, but it is at least a positive light, a positive interpretation and a more optimistic tone for a Star Trek series.
Yeah. I like this episode.
Yeah, it's fine.
You can't take that away.
Well, I will not try to.
Any closing thoughts?
No, I was afraid we were going to go really long when we started getting into like Discovery and stuff, but no, I think we covered this episode pretty well.
I'm gonna cut all this shit out. It's gonna be fun.
A good idea.
Anyway, thank you everybody. That has been the Wednesday Night Gentleman on the latest Star Trek Lower Decks episode. Thank you for joining us for this brief trek. Think about hitting that like or subscribe button and join us for more treks in the future. For now, it's time for us to boldly go. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.